right. Have to see when this bad boy goes live.
We are live according to what it says. So we ought to flip
Live.
here in just a moment. And there we are.
All right.
And there's an advertisement for payday.
Yeah. I can't believe I actually have one. They demonetized the P10F instantly, which I don't know why, but whatever. Who cares?
Did you submit for review?
Yeah, I did, but
yeah, hopefully they'll flip it pretty quick.
I still have a bunch of them that are demonetized. I don't know why, but well, whatever. Hello, Gun Nation. How's everyone doing this evening?
Hello. I'm fine, Big Johnson. How are you?
I am living the dream, sir, as long as you don't wake me up.
Right on.
17 should be joining us shortly. He is still in the vehicle, so, but yeah, we've got already had some really good questions. We will answer C. Kim's question here shortly, but anything new and exciting going on in your world?
You know, it's always an adventure every day. It always is. We'll share some things a little bit later on, perhaps in the chat, but yeah, every day is something a little different.
Yeah, same here. Let's see here. And we can go ahead and get started as soon as he, or we'll let some more people come in. Seen any questions? We already got a couple written down that people wanted to know about. Let's see here. Well, here's one. PO1 or PCR for a carry option?
Well, I'd go PO1 all day long.
Yeah, I personally would go PO1. You know, it gives you the extra option of the light rail. If you've ever shot those firearms, they're alloy, so they're a little, I guess, snappier than an all steel gun like the CZ75 compact. And having a little, I think you get like 6 or 7 ounces more having the rail, and it does seem to help. Plus, you can put a light on it. I do like that option.
Yeah, I agree, and I just think they're good-looking guns.
Yeah, they really are. And the cool thing is they take 75 full-size mags. So if you ever want to put that version of a fun stick in it, you can run 17 rounds plus an extension and have a lot of fun with them.
Yep, I agree.
Good little guns. Don't care too much for the factory sights that come on the PO1, little tiny suckers, but they are good pistols.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Okay, this is from Dennis B. Can someone explain the difference between a CZ PO7 and a CZ PO7 Omega?
Well, you're going to be the expert there. I haven't been around the PO709 long enough to know its history as well. I really only know the PO7 and PO9 Omega.
Okay, the old PO7 was called the Duty, and it had the curved trigger. And then your new Omega system, now in every Omega box, it comes with the decocker. Usually the decocker is on the pistol, but it'll come with the safety that you can actually take the decocker off and you can plug in the safety to it. So it's Omega, otherwise known as a convertible, because you can change it. And then it has a flatter trigger in the Omega also. Personally, I've shot them both. I like the Omega better. I think 17 likes the regular better, well, I know he does on the PO1, but it's whichever one you prefer. The Duty is a great pistol. That is kind of their older one. I just prefer the Omega because it does give you the option to run the safety if you choose to. If you do put the safety on it, it's a little bit lighter double action, not tremendously a lot, but you can tell a little bit of difference on your first pull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm a fan of the Omega. I mean, I love the PO1 Omega, and that is a forever gun that'll always stay. However, on the laundry list of wishes, and this is wish, not plan, but wish, I would like to get a regular PO1, and I'd like to tune it up and do something fun with that, drop in the better trigger, the spring kit, the whole 9 yards, and make it just super, super dialed in, and have the PO1 Omega, and then have the souped up PO1. But that, again, that may or may not happen. If it does, it would probably be maybe next year or something like that. This year is pretty stacked at this point in time.
Yeah, and I've got the PO1, and I've been saying I was going to do all that, but I've got other pistols, and kind of like you, I've got other stuff in the mix. So I've never physically done it, but I want to put the 85 Combat, which is more of the Shadow 2 style trigger, so I can take the hook out and put springs in it at least. And I would be happy with that. I mean, it's a great shooting little pistol. You know, I've done reviews where I compared the P01, the stock P01 non-Omega, to the P07, and I actually still shoot the P07 better. But you know, P01's a great gun. I can actually get my hand on the P07 better than I can the P01. But
yeah,
you know, it's you know, you can't go wrong with either one of them, whichever one you decide. I mean, hell, even if you like the PCR, you know, grab the PCR. I mean, you know, the P01 compact is kind of like a miniature SP01 tactical, and then the PCR is kind of like a miniaturized CZ75 compact. So
right.
you know, it's just what your fancy is.
Yep, I agree.
Oh, and the beaver tails are a little different, just a little bit. I kind of like the beaver tail on the SP01 P01 better than I do the 75 or the PCR compact. Where is the bald Puerto Rican?
He is on his way.
He's on his way. So let's see here. What's everyone's thought or think on the $3,000 LWRC PCC?
I think it looks freaking awesome. There's no way, couldn't do it. Certainly not right now. But I will tell you, I mean, I've been getting into PCCs. That's become a bigger thing. I've still got a couple more in the works to test, but I would love to run it and see what it's like. $3,000 is a tough pill to swallow, especially when there are other really good options. I mean, that SIG was $1,500, and I think that's a phenomenal PDW. So, can you justify it? Is 3,000? Is that too much? I don't know. I don't know, but it looks freaking sweet.
Yeah, I think it's really nice too, but I'm kind of in your boat. I mean, I've got the American Resistance PCC rifle, and I've got the Scorpion, and I like both of them. They shoot really well, a lot less cost. No, not as nice, but both of them run like scalded dogs.
Yeah, I hear you. Dennis saying High Point is the best PCC. You know, there's nothing wrong with the High Point. Those things, but I'll tell you what, they will just keep on ticking.
Well, what's funny, and I've told this story way back when, I had the original High Point, and it's not the tactical, the newer one, it's the old one, and I actually called it the Planet of the Apes gun because it looked like, and if any older guys or ladies know the Planet of the Apes, they had these kind of like AK looking things, and that's what it reminded me of. But I never cleaned it because if you took the old High Points, I think it's even on the new ones, if you take them apart, it literally takes like 2 hours to take the damn thing apart. So I never cleaned it. I just ran a bore snake through it, dumped some oil in it. And man, I bought that thing used for I think I bought it for like $100. And I mean, I beat the crap out of it, never cleaned it, shot the hell out of it for like 2 years. And, you know, I sold it and it still ran.
Mm-hmm.
They work.
Yeah, they do.
Let's see here.
So there was a question early on in the chat. You want to get to that?
Yeah, I was waiting for 17, but you know, like I said, maybe it's still stuck in traffic. But you know, C Kim had a great question, and you know, I'm going to kind of take his question and then extend it out. He was asking, do we mark our magazines? So
I do not mark my magazines. I really don't. And thankfully, I've really never had significant magazine issues. So that's good. Now, I'm one of those people. I clean magazines and all that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, I do regular maintenance on pretty much everything top to bottom with most of my guns as long as I can. So yeah, I don't mark them.
Okay. On my magazines, I do have, on some of my CZ magazines, I do have them marked. Now, and I take them apart and clean them periodically, not every single time. And then on the STIs, I did not mark them, but I would go through and inspect and clean them quite a bit, just because I've heard 2011s are finicky. But during the regular testing, when I was at the range, I never cleaned them and they never went bad. But then again, they were brand new too. So I don't know. I've heard, you know, some people say, oh, you have to clean the 2011s a lot more. So that's kind of what I did. I was just going off their recommendations. Right. Now, to kind of extend that out, we were, you know, and this was brought up too, where do you put your magazines and how many do you have for each gun?
Real quickly, Hurt was saying I wouldn't mark magazines either if I moved firearms like you all do, and yeah, and each one of us does things a little differently. I'm very much like that. If I know it's a tester gun and it's not going to be in the collection permanently, marking would not be an option. I mean, I try not to change anything at all or spend any extra money on it. That doesn't make sense to get extra magazines or different sights or anything. I mean, you guys know the Shield 4-inch. I can't stand those sights, but they're staying on the gun because I don't know that it's going to stay around for very long. So yeah, it's a very good point for that. But as far as storage and how many anymore, I stick, generally speaking, with what comes with the gun. Again, the review budget doesn't really allow for a lot of extra frills unless it's something that I want to test a product with, or it's something that I potentially might keep the gun and I want to do some different sights or something like that would actually make the experience for me a little bit better. So otherwise, I really don't do that. Now, I make some exceptions. I mean, I'm testing that Scorpion Micro, and it came with two 20-round magazines, but I did go ahead and get the newer version 30-round magazine, which I had not experienced before, but they're just a little beefier, a little nicer. So I did get one of those, but they were super cheap. It was like $24 or something.
Right.
So that it didn't break the bank, and I really felt that I needed to be able to run with that a little bit. And the reviews, I think it looks better. And I did kind of just want it, to be honest with you. But I generally don't. The guns that stay in the collection, I mean, if it's a carry gun or something, I want a minimum of 3, but usually 4 magazines. That's pretty much a requirement. So I've got the magazine in the gun in my backup magazine. I've got one that I know I can kind of beat up and not really care about as much, and then maybe an extra one around if need be.
Yeah. Yeah. On magazines, if it's a gun that I know that I'm going to keep and that I, especially really like after I shoot it a little bit and I can tell that I like it, I usually have about a total of, with CZ mags, I probably have 30 of them, 75 mags versions. And that's because I'm going to keep them. But I usually try to get 7 to 8 for each gun that I know that I'm going to keep, because I have had mags fail. I've had feed lips, crack, even metal ones from dropping them. If they land just right, they're going to get jacked up. And I've tried to bend some of them back, and if you don't get the correct angle, they can chip or break or crack or whatever. So I've had that happen. So I try to load up on mags, and then how I store them. If I know that it's a gun that I don't shoot a lot, the residual mags, I put them in Ziploc bags and I mark them so I know what they are. But ones that I shoot a lot, I actually get these. This is made by Competitive Edge Dynamics, and they're pistol sleeves. They're mag sleeves. I don't know if you've ever seen these. I'll show them up close. But they make them in 140 millimeter and 170 millimeter. But they have a Velcro little thing. You can pop these open. I've got them for Glocks, CZs. I've got a bunch of these. And they're not even that expensive. You can catch them on sale. I've got them for like $7 or $8, sometimes 10 and 12. But you can order them like EGW sells them, and they've got the 140 and the 170s. But you can find them, and they're pretty cool. You can just take them and chunk them in your range bag or whatever. So it makes it easier to carry them around if you need to.
That's good. That I think is a good solution. Now, for me, space is a little bit of a premium, especially because I try and keep all my mags in safes and that sort of thing. And so I actually go to like Target, whatever, and I get small, they're like acrylic containers, and they're maybe a foot long, maybe a little bit less than that. They're about 4 inches deep, and maybe 4.5, 5 inches wide. And so they fit really nicely on a shelf, a little bit of room beside that for other things. And it generally will fit 4 rows of magazines, and they're tucked front to back, front to back, front to back. And so it's a pain to get, if I want a magazine at the bottom, I got to take everything out, but it packs a lot of magazines into one small space, and it's one container. So if I had to, get out and move them all for whatever reason, I have one container with everything in it. So it's a good solution. It's not the best solution, but again, with magazines, I don't care if they're beating each other up a little bit. I mean, I've never seen one get damaged or anything like that, but that solution seems to work for me.
Yeah, I do something very similar too. I have the big tubs. I don't know what size they are. It's the big tubs where they have the yellow foldable lids. and I put them in the Ziploc bags, like I was saying, and I stack them in those. So I have 2 tubs just full of only magazines, and I just pull them out. But the bad thing is, you're right, you have to go through them. But when I see the markings on them, I know what they go to. So
Right.
seems to make it a lot easier. Because if you just took random mags and chunked them in a box, that would suck going through them. And I've done that many times, so that's why I went to the freezer bag things, because I got tired of doing that crap.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
So that's definitely a good option. And however many the family gets as far as mags, throw it in there. But I had a couple of questions for this evening, and I'm gonna put you on the spot. And I was hoping 17, and if he comes back, we'll ask him too. Yes, and Big Al's saying throw desiccant bags in there. Yeah, and I do. That's a good thing. I get these bags, these little desiccant bags. You can't eat them. Don't eat them. You'll die. But I throw those in there too. So I've got a bunch of those. And the cool thing is, and something you can look forward to or look for, if you buy furniture that you have to put together, even in like medicine bottles, you can get the little bitty ones. Take those little bags out. I talked to a chemist guy, and he said that they last for like a really long time. So anytime you get those little bags, grab them out of whatever they were in, tennis shoe boxes or whatever, and save them and use them. So save you a little money. But you can buy those on Amazon too. That's what I do, the big ones. But the question was, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you can only pick one. You can only pick one. Or I'll tell you what, let's do it this way. You can pick a double action, single action, and you can pick a striker fire. Okay. What is your favorite carry pistol?
Well, I mean, I only carry certain guns, but I'd say as far as favorites for striker, it'd be the Shield. It's just it could be an all year, all arounder, and I like that. But it's pretty limited to carry. I don't consider it a home defense or anything. So if we're only talking carry, it would be the Shield. Now hammer, I don't carry hammer guns, but if I did, it would be the PO1 because I think that's a good size, and I just think it's a good gun. So those would be my choices.
Okay, my choices would be, and I'll say it right now, my choice would be the P10C over the F right now. And the only reason is because it's a compact, and I've got the Shield +5s for it. So, I can throw that in there, or I could carry a backup P10F mag with the +2 extension, and I would have that for my striker fire gun. But for my double action, single action gun, it would be the PO9.
Nice.
Yeah. And I carry both of those a lot. So those seem to be working for me. I see P10C, PO1, 50 cal cans. Yeah, you want to keep those. Stephen Worth carries a Glock. We can't talk to him anymore.
No shame in that, dude. Actually, this last weekend I carried the Glock 48, and it was quite comfortable. I had the Harry's holster inside the waistband. It was great, and I kind of enjoyed. Now I'm testing a Talon grip on the Shield because I did finally break down. I was tired of that thing, and it's the one criticism. It's a brilliant aggressive grip, but if it's on you all day long, it really can't start to irritate you. So I'm testing that out. The rear strap has already started to kind of fall away just a little bit. I followed the instructions. I've put those grips on before, so it just, for whatever reason, it can't grip that aggressive texture very well. But the 48 was really nice. It was a nice departure. Now there is a question out there from Douche Bigelow. Very interesting. The main gripes of the Glock 48 stock. I know you modded yours out eventually, but out of the box, what didn't you like? Been fondling one at the weekly at the LGS. So what do you think of the 48?
The 48, it does fit my hand. I don't mind it. The things, well, I guess the two things I would definitely change pretty quickly, and this is just me, and these are my opinions, I would change the trigger and the sights. Those would be the two things I would change pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah, and I totally agree. Sights had to go, but that's pretty common on Glock. So it's just, to me, that's part of buying a Glock as far as I'm concerned, unless it comes with upgraded sights already. But then the trigger as well. I've enjoyed the Gen 5 triggers, like the 19X and the 45 and the Gen 5 MOS, that sort of thing. Those triggers are really passable. I still change them out or mod them a little bit just to dial them into my taste. But they work. I found that the 43X, the 48, the 43, 42, whatever, I still think they're pretty clunky. They're heavier than I think they should be. I like the reset. That's about the only thing that I find really redeemable about those. So I changed that out. So I changed the sights to Ameriglow Pro Eye Dots, and then the trigger is a tactical pontoon, and I've got a video out there somewhere on that. And that seemed to do the trick on both the 43X and the 48. So that's my deal.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree on those. Eddie P had a question. It was the P10F or the P09, which is better? KS and I were talking about that earlier. I've already filmed the video, so you'll be able to see it. I'll probably put it out sometime this week, but I'll give you my opinion on the P10F versus the P09. 17's in the chat room. I guess he hasn't made it back yet, but yeah, he's talking about the triggers and the sights, or he didn't think the trigger was all that bad. So, and it's not, I mean, it's, and you know this too, when you get used to better triggers, you kind of become a little bit of a trigger snob. I mean, it's easy to do, if you get used to one over the other.
Right. Well, and it's funny, he mentions he doesn't like that the safety pushes into your finger. I 100% agree with that. I've been testing this Ahrex Delta, and it'll be an interesting video when it comes out. But one thing I do like, the trigger goes totally flat. That's great. And I think they should all do that. I don't know why Glock doesn't. Surely it's not that hard from a design perspective to be able to do that. So I'd like to see them catch up with the times on that.
Yeah, I've been griping about that forever with Glock. So many people have been able to go around that, and you have to get an aftermarket trigger to overcome that. But yeah, I've shot Glock so much. I mean, it's literally bled right there where that little thing is just poking me the whole damn time, and I just can't stand it. So that's, but everybody's different. So
right. Now, Keith Gregory does have a question here. He says, is Glock Gen 5 going to be anything other than 9mm?
That's a good question. Let's flip this thing. Do you think there's a reason? I mean, they already have, the 10mm. They already have the 45. Is there a reason to make it in 40?
Well,
I don't think so.
Well, but the Gen 5 right now is only in 9mm.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's a demand. They could make it in a 45 maybe, or a 10mm eventually, but I think that everybody is pretty much going to 9. And if they don't, they'll just kind of keep they might be getting questions on it. I'm sure they are.
Well, yeah. And actually, Jacksonian one, hopefully I'm saying that right, said he doubts it. They didn't add the extra pin for the 40, and that would be the same for the 357, the 45, and the 10. I mean, all of them are going to take a little bit more, whatever, rigidity, if you will. So that is a very good point. But long term, I don't know. I mean, they had guns that ran those calibers prior to the Gen 3. So I don't know. Yeah. We'll have to see.
I mean, the only, I still hear people calling, carrying their 40s and stuff like that. But as far as like the only time I really, unless they're, like a police trade-in or something, you can get them for a steal, and do a barrel swap in it. I just don't see any reason to buy them. And the only people that use 40 is, for major power factor in USPSA. I just don't see a lot of people like every day carrying 40s. I know that they do. I'm not discrediting anybody that does. 45 still has its following, but 40 is really somewhat dying off. I know people that have carried 40s in the past, and they've even gone to 9.
Right. Well, and Hurt is saying friends don't let friends carry 40. But yeah, and Arms Men said he thought he saw an article, the Glock stated that Gen 5s would only be available in 9mm. I mean, let's face it, it's the prevalent round. I don't foresee it. It's not a fad, right? I don't see it going anywhere. Just like 45, I don't really see 45 going anywhere either. If we'd been talking 10 years ago, I would have said the same thing about 40, but it really has kind of dropped off dramatically. Now 10mm is having a bit of a push right now, but I don't know how long that's going to last, because there are, it's not really a carry round for most. I mean, I suppose it could for some if you're carrying like a Glock 29 or something like that, but most people are not. So Glock and other manufacturers, I think, for the most part, they're catering to military, law enforcement, and concealed carry. And 9mm and even 380, those seem to be the more popular, whether we agree or not. They seem to be the more popular rounds. They're relatively prevalent. Now 380 is more expensive, but again, they're pretty common. So I think a lot of manufacturers are just pointing their resources towards those rounds. I mean, that's a guess. I don't know, but that if I was running the company, I'd be concentrating on those rounds plus maybe 10mm, just to try and ride the wave a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, I totally agree with that. I think 45 is still relevant, 10mm is relevant, 380, 22, and of course, all shotgun and even rifle rounds. If you really think about it, like when I was growing up, it was 243, 30, 7mm, stuff like that. And I really rarely ever see that anymore. I mean, I still have those rifles, but, and I can buy ammo at, some of the older places and even Cabela's and stuff, but they're just not as, not a lot of people do that anymore. It's just not a popular round. And if you do find it, they're definitely wanting a premium for it. So when people see the premium, they're just like, oh, I'll just get 9mm, or I'll just get, 5.56 or 223 or 308 or whatever.
Right. Now, I gotta interrupt us for a second. Stephen Worth just put a post here that says the stupid new DIM controlled state here in Nevada just passed a law that we can no longer do any mechanical changes that allow a semi-auto to fire faster. No more trigger work. People are mad. So I'm curious, Stephen, and to anyone or Big Johnson, whomever, did they define that very well? I'd be curious about that because I've got a Glock 34 here. It's a polymer 80 and it's got a tactical pontoon trigger. Now, arguably, can it go any faster than a stock trigger? I don't really think so. I think it's the same speed. I think it's a better trigger pull. It's a better experience vastly, but it doesn't go any faster. I mean, a semi-auto, correct me if I'm wrong, goes as fast as your finger can pull, so long as you don't outrun the gun, and that is very difficult to do with most modern semi-automatic handguns, at least. So, did they add any color to that at all?
I think it's ridiculous because yes, I mean that's like, what are they going to do? I mean, think about it this way, okay? And I'm just going to throw this out there, like Jerry Miculek, okay? Are they going? He could take a stock trigger and he could probably run it faster than an average person or even a better shooter could with a tricked out trigger. So are they going to outlaw his finger? That's a rate increasing device. I mean, this is just asinine, and I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but you can take a pistol, just like this, and you can take a ballpoint pen if you have a light enough trigger, and you can just sit there and go da 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 da, or you can take a stick, you can do anything, and you can make it faster. So are people going to start outlawing your stick or your finger or your ballpoint pen? I mean, give me a break.
Right.
It's just so freaking stupid.
Well, he's adding clarity to this. I mean, he's saying that really it's no add-on. So I would take that to mean that no modifications whatsoever. So even if we're talking something like a minus connector in a Glock, which again does not in any way change the rate of fire. All it does is remove a little bit of the break or the wall rather, right? So it makes it a more smooth pull. It really doesn't reduce the weight hardly at all. You could argue maybe a half pound, but that who cares? On a 6 pound gun, who cares? So that it's outlandish to me that they can sit there and they can say that. And if you're not really clearly defining it, I mean, if it were me, I'd still be ordering the part. Screw them. Because seriously, you could argue that in court all day long. I'm not a lawyer, by the way, but for me, I'd keep right on doing it.
And also, what are they going to do? Are they going to walk around and say, "Can you take your gun out so I can see it?" Give me a break. There's no reason. I've done nothing wrong, so you can't just come up and frisk me to look at my pistol. So yeah, I would screw that. I do what I want.
Right. Well, and the point was made a little while ago. How are people really going to know? Right. I mean, who's really going to know? This was done 5 years ago or whatever. I mean, spare me. That makes no sense.
Yeah, and Beretta is saying, he carried a Glock 22 Gen 3 on duty, and at one of his police qualifications, one of the pins broke, 16,000 rounds. So he had a single shot pistol. He was having to rack the slide every single time, and that would suck. That would completely suck.
Man.
Also if you're doing qualifying, if you have a failure or mechanical failure, I wonder if they would let you do it again, or let you take it again.
It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
Either way, that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Yep. What's up, 17?
What's going on, fellas?
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
So you made it.
I know. I think I broke every land speed record on the face of the planet just to get here on time.
There you go.
See, and I didn't get here on time.
Yeah.
That's how important this is, man.
I know. This is like my life, guys.
Yeah. Let's see here. Twice a year, can't have learning how to shoot faster. And that was, and it kind of takes me back to, and I don't go to this range anymore, but if you watch some of my old videos, where I went to the range and I always used to joke about Ranger Rick. And that was, shooting Ranger Rick at the range, but I don't even know what his real name was. But they had a thing that was, you couldn't fire, like it had to be 1 or 2 seconds before or each shot. There was no rapid firing. There was no double taps. There was none of that, which I thought was a joke. And so I asked him, I'm like, that's crazy, because they always used to come up, and I even have it on video where he's like, you need to slow down. And I'm just like, whatever. But, to have that shooting fast. And I asked him, I was like, okay, why can we not rapid fire? Why can we not double tap? And his exact answer to me was, you will intimidate the newer shooters. And I was like, excuse me? So I shoot a lot. They don't shoot a lot. They just maybe come once a year. I have to be penalized for those people. And he's like, yeah, we just don't want to scare them.
Oh, man.
And I was like, well, they need to shoot more.
It's exactly right. And everybody has to start somewhere. There is no shame in being a new shooter. There is no shame in being a seasoned shooter to whatever degree it is. And, as you know, I spend a lot of time at the range, and I am oftentimes next to somebody who's a new shooter. Sometimes they are with one of the range officers, first time ever shooting. That doesn't stop me, and it doesn't seem to bother them. They're having a good time. I'm having a good time. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, and I even have it on video where I'm, like talking to the camera, and all of a sudden I see my target move, and I pull it in, and I've got videos of this. I pull it in, and there's a round from the line over or wherever. It's a newer shooter, and they've shot my target.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, and I don't yell at them, because I know that they're learning, especially when it's a young kid and his dad or something like that. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I'm just like, no, they're getting mad at someone who knows how to shoot versus, worrying about the people that don't.
So 17, you've got a question, buddy.
I do. What is it?
You do. Keith Gregory asking how you're liking the Glock 48.
I like it a bit. I'm not going to say a lot just yet. I'm still waiting to get the Glock 43X just to kind of compare and contrast. I mean, the 48 is a good, solid handgun, and it's one of those weird handguns for me, because there are some days where I'm like, I don't want to carry it because I don't like it as much as, like, let's say the 19 or a P10 or something like that. And then there are some days where I carry it all day long, and I'm like, thank God this damn gun is so thin, because it's very easy to carry. It's very lightweight. And basically it's just like I said, a single stack 19, which I think is great. So I don't know. I'm still kind of in between. I don't think it's a great gun, so to speak, but it's definitely not a terrible gun either. It's kind of like a middle of the road type of thing for me right now.
Well, that's interesting, because, and I've been looking forward to your thoughts on this, especially longer term, because you're in a magazine restricted state. And
right.
So a lot of us have been talking about, including you, all of us here have been talking about the 48. Even though it's kind of an unusual gun, there can be some great benefits because it has a lot of the Glock 19 pedigree, but it's 10 rounds, and really it's thinner, it's lighter, still taking advantage of the max capacity for you.
Right.
It doesn't sound like you're just all over it, greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well, I think it's because it's, I have a lot more years behind my life with a 19 than a 48. But at the same time, I think it's the mindset of what a 19 really is to most people. The 48 is a good gun. If you're going to get one, you're going to enjoy it, in my opinion, if you like Glocks. But I think it's the let me see if I can spell this out. Universality, if that's even a damn word, I don't know, about the Glock 19. That wherever you go, it doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're in. Somebody's going to have a Glock 19, and I just think it's the fact that it's such a universal gun that it's hard to move away from a 19, even in a restricted state like mine. So that's why when I look at the 48, I just don't know where it fits in for me. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad gun. I enjoy carrying it. It's a decent shooter. I mean, it's great. There really is nothing to knock it, except for the sights, except for maybe that trigger. But again, those are optional. But at the same time, I have not been convinced that that's the right gun for me just yet. I got to give it more time. The summer's coming, hopefully at some point, because we still have not gotten consistently good weather here. Today was like our first 70 degree day in about a month. And so, it's hard to say where it's going to fit as it gets warmer. And then with the introduction of 43X for me, that could possibly dethrone the 48 just because of that balance I've always said about the 19X and then the 43X being kind of a mini version of that. So it's just one of those weird, it's like an oddball gun. It really is. And I'm definitely in the minority with that. I think most people would say it's a great gun. People with small hands probably love it because they can just crush the hell out of that gun because it's so thin. But I don't know. I'm back and forth with it a lot.
Yeah, and 17, don't bring up minority. That's racist.
Wait a minute. I am one, so I can say it.
But, that kind of goes back to the thing that we've talked about before. With the 48 and the 43 being single stacks, okay? And then having the shield be a single stack. And of course, I know that it comes in an 8-round, 7-round, but you could add a +2, kind of like you could with the regular 43. Do you see, and I know we've talked about this before, but do you see someone that has a shield or that has a regular 43 really needing to get a 43X or a 48?
I don't, because I don't really think there's much of a difference. You can't really make a 43 into a 48 because of the slide, unless you buy the slide and throw it on there. But at the same time, you can make it a 43 and a 43X. So to me, there's no reason to do that. Amongst maybe just the minor aesthetic differences between the two. But I think overall, if I had a 43, I probably wouldn't get a 43X, but I've never owned a 43. So that's why I went with it. And I just wanted to see it. I did like the way it felt. And I do like the 48, but I don't know if it's going to be what I'm looking for or not. And what the hell? I might as well try it. What's the worst case scenario? I sell it,
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm still curious. I'm looking forward to your opinions between the Shield 4-inch and the 48.
You might be waiting like another 10 months, depending on when I actually get it. I still haven't even heard anything about my Beretta or that 43X. And then the Shield came in later, so forget it. I don't even know when that's coming. It's pathetic. It's going on 3 weeks. So,
well, Christmas is right around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah. It's Christmas in June at this point. But one of the guns that I still swear by, that I'm still not sure why it doesn't get enough. I guess it does in certain communities, but not in the majority. The M&P 2.0 compact. I still think this is the do-all gun. I really do think this, for me, is a little bit better than a Glock 19, just because I think it's a more shootable gun, and I just think ergonomically it's better.
Well, I like the M&P line, of course, better than Glock. It's just my opinion. But, the Glock, I mean, they're so easy to work on. People can do everything at home. They don't have to take it to their gunsmith. M&P is a little more difficult to work on. And there's everything in the world available for Glocks. I mean, it's the Lego for men. So, I know everybody likes them for that reason. And, when you go back to the older generation, they grew up on 1911s and stuff like that. Right. I see a lot of older guys, shooting guns, and they also shoot Glocks, but I see them shooting other guns over Glocks. And then I see a lot of the younger guys who are coming up shooting, that start on a Glock, they tend to stay with Glocks and then move to other platforms. But, it's kind of like the older guys try Glocks and they're like, I like the older platforms better, or the more 1911 setups. Not everybody, just some that I run with.
Yeah.
So let's see here. One of the yards.
I was looking at that. One of the large YouTube channels. What YouTube channel picked up a Steyr? I'd love to know who that is. Since they've been out forever and nobody talked about it until, of course, they were releasing that. Well, hopefully releasing soon the MF2.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
My L9 out.
Yeah, well, I know that Nothing Fancy did one a while ago, and I guess he had just found Steyr or something. There's some of the guys that have been bumping into him or probably had enough, people telling them about them that they finally tried them out.
Yep.
Never enough ammo. That's what he said.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know who that is. I don't follow that channel.
Yeah.
I think any one of Yankee Marshall's buddies, I think.
That's probably why I don't follow it.
Yeah, and then Honest, but I think he tried the Steyr quite a while ago. But yeah, the damn old fart 1911s. Yeah, that's us. But question for you, 17, because you weren't here.
Oh, I'm so popular tonight.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get you in the loop, brother. Don't want to leave you hanging. Okay, I threw up the question to KS. Excuse me. Your favorite carry pistol, one can be a striker fire, one can be double action, single action. What's your choice?
Wow, my choices? That's tough. Favorite, not most useful.
It can be whatever. I mean, what you would pick?
Oh, well, the hammer, hands down, is my P01.
Okay.
That's a given. Striker fire is a little tougher. Favorite striker fired pistol. Shit. That's a tough question. I mean, I have problems because I like them all.
You can only pick one, and we don't have all day.
I don't like this pressure, man. I mean, honestly, I know everybody's gonna say, "Oh, what a surprise!" But I still think the Steyr is hands down. It's just such a damn good shooting gun. Ergonomically, it's so good. It's got some minor little things to it, but I think overall for me, it is still my favorite striker fired handgun.
Okay, Harry said that I have to exclude the P01 for you. So what's your next favorite hammer?
Damn it, Harry. A G2C. Is that even a hammer fired gun? The Taurus?
G2C is not. No,
okay.
The TP9H or whatever it is.
I'm just kidding. I would never pick a Taurus. You guys know I would never pick a Taurus. Favorite hammer fired gun that I've ever owned. Like right now, I really like that PX4 Storm Compact. Okay. I do. There's just something odd about that gun that I like. It doesn't sit in the hand that great, but I mean, it's still such the double action, single action. I've dropped a new hammer spring in there. It's really smooth. It's an 8-pound double action, 4-pound single action. I've been very impressed with that gun. For as little play as it gets right now, to me, that's a solid handgun. It really is.
Yeah. Now I want to throw up something to y'all, and I was actually, and I kind of did a thing on it today or talked about it, but kind of wanted to throw it up to y'all. We talk about double action, single action pistols, and of course we have their striker fire market, but we talk about a single action or double action, single action. How important, the one thing that everybody gripes about is like they'll pick up a pistol and they'll go, "Oh my gosh, this double action is horrendous." Does that really bother y'all?
Yes.
It does? Okay. What about you, KS?
Does it bother me when someone says that?
No. Like if you pick up a double action, single action pistol and it has a fairly bad double action, say the double action is 10 pounds, 11 pounds. Does it bother you that much?
Well, I don't want a trigger that's 10 or 11 pounds. I mean, but I understand what a double action means. So it doesn't really bother me very much. I don't get quite as excited about it. More I want to focus on the single action, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. And the reason I was kind of thinking about this is I had a buddy of mine. He was like, "Man, I just can't stand double action, single action pistols." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And he said, "The double action is just horrendous on some pistols." And I said, okay, for example, and he's familiar with the P09. I'm just going to use it as examples. But I said, P09 carries 20 rounds. We've got 20 rounds in here, 19 plus 1 in the pipe. You can actually rack it. So when you rack it, then you decock it. That puts it to half cocked. So your first pull is going to be this. Then after that, you have 18 or 19 more rounds at 3 pounds, 5 ounces or 6 ounces. That's a nice trigger.
Right.
So it's that first shot that I think scares a lot of people off, or not scares them, but could intimidate them, because that really harsh pull. But once you get through that first pull, and I know the first shot is always the most important, but once you get through that first shot or first pull, after that, it's a cakewalk. And a lot of people kind of don't look at it as that.
I think you said it best when you said the first shot is the most important shot. And that's why, for me, the double action is the most important.
Yep.
I don't want a 14-pound double action. You know, my hands are shaky enough. I'll
Okay.
be honest with you.
I
I
understand.
don't need that much poundage. I am just fine with an 8-pound double action, half cock position, and just a smooth take up, and then a nice break on that. And I'm telling you, that's why this PX4 is really, it really stands out, because honestly, I feel, this might be crazy, compared this to my P01 Omega, not the original, because you guys know I'm very fond of the original trigger, but comparing this to the P01 Omega, this double action and single action feels better than that gun. And that gun has a new hammer spring in it as well. I just feel like this is a lot smoother. I think the single action is a lot less mushy, and as soon as it's a shorter, it feels like a shorter take up, and when you hit that wall, it's just a really, really nice crisp break. So for me, that's why I'm saying, to me, this PX4 is a sleeper in regards to the double action, single action world, and you can make it even better. You know, Harry brought up the idea of putting, you know, Langdon tactical parts in there. I thought about it, but I'm not sure if I would actually want to spend the money on the gun, to be honest with you. But I do like just having that simple, you know, fix with the spring. It's made a big difference in the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, and Harry brought up the point too, and that's kind of where I was going. I find myself, especially on the first shot with a double action, single action, knowing that I'm going to have that, you know, that longer trigger pull. Some people, you know, prefer it, especially if they're appendix carrying, because it is going to be a longer pull. Doesn't matter to me. I'll carry either one. But what I find when I come out of the holster and fire that first shot, it makes me think a little more, makes me concentrate a little more. You know, striker is very constant trigger, but with the double action, you know, it's almost like a little more trigger discipline to put it on the shot where you need it. And usually I will come out with a double action, single action. It'll be a pretty good shot. And then after that, it's just cake. But that's the reason why I like going between the two platforms, to try to get a little more discipline for the trigger. So it tends to work for me. But yeah, I mean, I've pulled some revolvers that are, and I own one, or I actually own two, but on one of them, it's, man, you better eat your Wheaties, because it's a beast to pull the first trigger pull.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, now, you know, and of course, a lot of people don't realize, you know, you could pop the hammer back and throw it into single action real quick. But if you don't have that opportunity, man, that I think it's probably almost a 14-pound trigger pull.
Right.
Well, I was looking at that M9A3, and I was tempted to put some money down on it, and that would be probably the most expensive gun that I've ever bought. And I like it. I mean, I'm not a huge M9 fan personally, but that gun just felt good. It looks good. You know, I really like it. And I liked it when they released it in the FDE, but I couldn't find it without the threaded barrel, because God forbid you have one of those up here. But I'm still very interested in that gun. I don't know if I'm stupid enough, or if I want a divorce, maybe I will get it, but I'm not sure.
Well, I hear nothing but good things about him, and I think it's one that you would definitely enjoy. It'd be interesting to compare that to the PX4.
It would. I mean, it's a shame. You know, I think one of the biggest problems with Beretta is just, and again, we see this a lot with a lot of companies, is just piss poor marketing. I think the Beretta, the Storm is just, you know, there's just something weird. Like, there's an attraction to this gun for a lot of people, you know, whether it's the, you know, rotating barrel, maybe it's the looks. But it just is it's kind of a niche kind of gun, you know, not everybody likes it. And the people who do like it love it. So it's kind of interesting that way.
It's
also, if you get the black version, the all black Beretta, it's one that you've had. Remember, you only have black guns. That's what you can tell her.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, she would know. Well, actually, she probably wouldn't know. I mean, it's not like she goes in my safe and says, "What's in there?"
There you go.
I think she thinks I only still have one gun.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like the 92 is having a little bit of a resurgence with Wilson Combat, with Langdon, with the 92X. Some interesting variants coming out, the M9A3. So that's actually been kind of fun. It's a relatively long-standing firearm, at least somewhat. And I think, I mean, I've always enjoyed shooting them. At the reset, you got a lot of distance between the reset and getting back to the wall. It was always the big criticism of those. But in slow fire, they are ridiculously accurate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you know, with the weight and everything, I mean, I had one and I had it for a long time and it shot great. I just, you know, kind of fell out of love with it. Now, of course, back then they didn't have the Langdon and all the different, tricked out versions. So
Right.
those are really nice. Hey, West Coast Chicano, thank you so much. 92S is on his list.
Yeah, and I think what is also good about some of these guns, especially the PX4, and no, I'm not working for Beretta if anybody's asking, but I think the one thing I like about this gun over a CZ, which I know is blasphemy for a lot of people, is the ease of which you can work on this gun. I mean, this gun is extremely, extremely easy to work on. Whether it's removing pins and this and that, or the hammer, super, super, super easy to work on.
Cool.
And I think that's a bonus, whereas the CZ can be a little complicated and it can be a little finicky depending on how you put this part back in. And if it's not turned just a certain way, it won't go back the way it's supposed to. So I think that for me is also a plus, because I like working on my own guns, because I'm cheap.
You just have to hold your tongue just right, is what I find.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to put stuff together. Whew. Yeah, they're definitely like a jigsaw puzzle. That's for sure. I mean, hell, I think we can probably all do Glocks. I mean, I can do them pretty quick. I know y'all can.
Work on.
Yeah, KS can probably do them in his sleep.
Blindfolded, buddy.
There you go.
Sadly.
There you go. I had one more question, and this is, I think we kind of talked about it before, but I wanted to get y'all's opinions. The best sights for, just a pistol, if they're available, just a brand name or what you prefer. So the best sights, and they can be any sight or night sights for pistols. What do y'all think?
Does that include like an optic?
Well, I was just talking about sights.
Like night sights and irons? Okay.
Yes.
You want to go first, Cass?
Well, sure. I really like, and I have a 26 here. I've got some Ameriglos on this. Now, these are actually completely blacked out rears. They were a little less expensive, but I love the Ameriglo front sights. I think the HD call out is fantastic. They're bright enough, and the rear sight, I don't care if it's 3 dot, 1 dot, totally blacked out. I like the fact that they're rounded. They're comfortable to carry. They've got a really nice sight picture. I like that they're wide enough that it's a good field of view in there. I think they make fantastic sights. I know they're owned by Trijicon, but I like the Ameriglos. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, 17?
I mean, I've been fortunate because I've had, I think, every major sight, whether it's Trijicon, Ameriglo, Night Vision, Fusion, whatever they call it, big, XS Big Dots, the F8 series. I've had them all. And, do you mind if I go like worst to best, or is that okay?
Ahead. Yeah.
So the TFX Pros to me are decent, but not the best. Not a huge fan of them. They work on my P01 because, well, that's to me the best sight for that gun that's out right now. The Trijicons are great, but if you're on a budget, the Ameriglos are just as good. Maybe not as long lasting as the Trijicon, but Ameriglos are fantastic. I mean, I would say about 85 to 90% of all my guns have Ameriglos on them. I'll be interested. I'm hopefully going to get some DXT2s from XS. So I want to test those out because I do like the Big Dot. I have them on my PPQ and they work really well. But I always said, and I'm probably if I ever get them and I make a video on it, I'm going to throw in there from my old video that I made about 1.5 years ago saying if they would only make a high vis front, and sure enough, they made them finally. So I doubt they were listening, but I think it's interesting. But I mean, if I had to pick one, I'm not a huge fan of Night Vision. I think they're decent. They're built like tanks. They're not bright enough in the front. That's just my opinion in regards to the tritium in there. So for me, I would agree with KS. Ameriglo, to me, best bang for the buck. They show up really well, whether it's the yellow or the red or the orange or whatever you want to call it. And the night sights glow pretty well in regards to the brightness. So I would definitely agree that Ameriglo would be my go-to.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go completely off the rails. I like Ameriglo a lot. I like Trijicon a lot. And, I like night sights. However, since I've been doing all this testing and all the sights you named, except the Night Vision or whatever, I've never personally tried those, but I've tried all the rest of them. The sights that I really, really love, and I'm going to step on my own self for this, are the Dawson fiber optic fronts and the blacked out rear, even on a carry pistol. Okay. And the reason being is because if you've got night sights, that doesn't light up the bad guy. you're going to have a light on them. You're going to have a weapon light, a handheld light. You're going to have something on them if it's that dark. Now, my feeling is the night sights, and I've even said this before, and I did this test with a buddy of mine, because I had to have night sights on every pistol I owned, and I've got tons of them. But what I did is I took his pistol and I put it in my bathroom and hid it. And then I told him to go in and find it. He never could find it. Then I took my pistol with night sights. He found it right away. Okay. So, that you can find your pistol in the dark, or if it ever gets knocked out of your hand, you can find it. However, for a really tight shot, if I had to take a, really precise shot at distance, I would want the front fiber optic, the thin front fiber optic, to make that accurate, so to say, shot. Then what I found is, since I've been testing all these pistol lights, with the pistol light on your pistol, lighting it up, sometimes the bounce back will actually take your fiber optic and it kind of makes it glow white, so you can still see your sights. But it's just from testing and doing all this. And what's kind of spoilt me is, like doing the competitive shooting thing. My eye just goes straight to that front fiber optic, where sometimes with dots, they kind of blob together just a little bit for that first quick shot. And I've had a change of heart. So even on a carry pistol, I would carry fiber optic front and a blacked out rear. I never said that before. I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I would argue with people. So I'm admitting fault.
But do you think there's an advantage to getting those high vis front sights? Because it sort of is like a fiber optic. If you
No, it is. It is a fiber optic. Yeah, I'm talking about like a Dawson Precision fiber optic with a glow.
Right.
Green rod.
What I'm saying is, like on an Ameriglow or a Trijicon, how they have the bright orange or the bright yellow. I mean, wouldn't you say that's sort of like a fiber optic during the day because of how much it pops up in your eye?
It is, but what I've found, some of them, and if you kind of compare the two, like sight to sight, some of them are a little blockier, a little chunkier, and they kind of block out some of your target at a distance, where a thinner fiber optic gives you more of a precise shot. And I'm not saying I'm going to put it right there in the eyeball, but what I'm saying is that they tend to set up, the eyesight tends to work a little better for me.
Gotcha.
Well, real quickly, there's an intriguing question here from Harry, and I've been kind of waiting to share this. He asks, what gun would you like that is within your financial reach, but you'll never be able to justify purchasing?
I saw that question too, and I even saved it. What about you, 17?
Something in my reach, but I couldn't justify purchasing it. Boy. That friggin' what the hell is it? That gun you got, KS, that you love.
Which one?
All of them. No, the one that I had on layaway, or not layaway, but I paid for in full and then pulled out because it was taking forever to get here. The Type B.
Yeah,
I mean, that's within my reach, but I just can't justify buying it, for the price on that gun. So
yeah,
that would be the one. And I really would like to get it, but I can't justify it.
Gotcha.
17 or KS, you're gonna have to go on this one, man. I'm still thinking.
Well, so my answer would have been very different before today, because I would have said a Beretta 92. Well, I've decided to take the plunge back into that. We've been talking about it for weeks and weeks. I'm not going to tell you which one I got, whether it was the M9A2 or M9A3 or the Langdon or the Wilson or a regular one or whatever. But I do have a 92 on the way, and we're going to try that out and see how it goes.
Cool. That'll be interesting. Yeah. Man, I mean, that question literally has me dumbfounded. There's like 10 things going through my head. I mean, if I want something bad enough, I'll buy it. It's if I need it or if it's a place that I can shoot it. But I would probably say, a Barrett 50 cal. I mean, I could buy one, but where the hell am I going to shoot it? And I just can't justify purchasing it because I would never shoot it. Or, it'd be once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
If I have to pick one.
Could be the M9A3 for me too.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty sweet. No doubt about it. Well, gentlemen, it's about that time.
Yes, awesome. It is. So what do y'all have coming up?
Well, if anything ever gets out of jail, that would be great. Because I want to go. I haven't gone to the range in a while. If nothing comes in this weekend, I'm going to go to the range anyway. I might take out the P10 for a little while, take out the 2.0 compact, and see which one I like better. Because I think one of them is going to go. I'm not sure.
Hang on, between which two?
What's that?
Between which two?
The 2.0 compact and the P10.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because I want to move a gun, because I really am stuck on that damn M9A3 and I want it. So in order to, produce funds, sometimes you got to part ways with certain things. But I don't think it's gonna be this one. I'll be honest with you.
Not.
I love this damn gun. To me, it's perfect. So the P10 may be going, not because it's a bad gun, but because I want to make some change and probably put it down on that M9, because it's a gun I've never owned, and I'm very interested in it quite a bit. And now that KS is probably going to get one, I'm going to be like, all right, I got to be like you and get it, because I do want it, and I don't want to get a plastic gun. I'll be honest with you, I don't want to get another plastic gun, and trade that towards a plastic gun. So.
I got to be honest with you, Big Johnson, before you go. I'm feeling the same way. Especially after testing the Rex Delta, I'm getting kind of tired of the polymer guns a little bit.
Yep.
And that's why I'm starting to do more 1911s and this 92 and that sort of thing. Man, I want different stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, I said that a long time ago. I'm like, I am so sick of polymer guns because they it's like they just multiply, but it's the same thing. It just might have a different brand name on it. So I agree. Well, what do you have coming up, KS? KS?
Oh, KS. I'm sorry. I was falling asleep.
The other KS.
Lots of stuff. This weekend will be the AREX Delta or the Rex Delta, whatever you want to say. And then the Scorpion Micro will be coming up, as well as those Rock Islands. I got to get them out of the way. A few other things as well. So a lot of stuff going on. And Milsurp Mike, just give me a holler whenever, dude. You've got my number. So
yeah, I can't remember who said it. Somebody said it. It just went by. But they said 17. How many times are you going to get rid of your P10F or P10?
This is it. This is probably the last one I get. If I ever get another one, it'll be, if I can ever find one, maybe an S. But like I said, I like the gun, but I got too many plastic things that are all really good, and I have this one so customized. So that's why I'm saying this one ain't going anywhere. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. No, I knew you weren't going to get rid of that one.
And it's not. It's no longer on my top 10 or top 3 list. So it's time to go. Time to move it. Get something that's a little bit nicer, a little bit fancier, and something I've never had before. So,
yeah. Well, I dropped. First, I want to thank the family out there. It means a lot that y'all tune in to us, and we definitely enjoy your comments and your questions. They bring a lot to the chat. And of course, y'all are the primary reason we do it. So appreciate it so much. And then I just dropped the P10F, and after 2,400 rounds, because that's what I have through it, all documented. I give my opinion on it, and if you want to check that out. And a big demand video that I've had is the P09 versus the P10F. So I've got a video that's already filmed, and I'll be dropping that. And then the STI 2011, I shot it in competition. I put a ton of rounds through it, and I've never done a review on it. So it's kind of my opinion of a 2011, and there are goods, but also there's a lot of bads. So you might want to check that one out. So that's what I've got going on. But I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate the family being out there. It really means a lot. And hope y'all have a great night.
Yep. Appreciate you guys waiting for me too. So
yes, sir. Anytime.
Very nice.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Later.